Hi, I'm Ray Young. I'm an emeritus professor from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and I'm going to be continuing with my discussion of the history of Thessaloniki and continuing with what I call Turmoil, a series of wars that dramatically affected the population. And what we're going to talk about in this session is the effects of World War II and the Greek Civil War. Now, we've gone through the Balkan Wars, World War I, and Greco-Turkish War in the previous presentation, and today we'll look at the World War II, 1941 to 1945 in Thessaloniki. The occupation of Greece is shown here in this slide. The blue is the Italian occupiers of the Axis force, the Bulgarian in the green, and the red is the Nazi occupation, which is all of a good part of Macedonia, including Thessaloniki, and Athens and Crete, and actually they occupied more of the area as time went on. And this was very unfortunate for Thessaloniki because of the large Jewish population. The Nazis rounded them up and tortured them in the central square, as shown here. Here's the lining up of many of the Sephardic Jews that were in the population of Thessaloniki. They tortured them and humiliated them in the main square, and then sent them to the concentration camps, Auschwitz and Treblinka, where 99% of them died. Very, very dark event in the history of the city related to the Nazi occupation. So you can imagine how this affected the demographics of the city of Thessaloniki. I've shown the population in the year 2000. There were now 345,000 Greeks, 95% of the population, compared to one time when the population was almost up to 60% the Jewish. And there's only about 1,000 Jews now. Actually, it's about 1,200 currently. This is from 2000. About 1,200 Jews, or a fraction of a percent. So the city was decimated in terms of its Jewish population. Now, this is the old Jewish cemetery on the left. You can see it was extensive. It was just outside the eastern wall. And then when the Nazis came in, they totally destroyed the cemetery and used the tombstones and the stones as for construction purposes around the rest of the city. Now, when I first came to Thessaloniki, I was at the Aristotelian University, which I've shown on this map. It's just outside the eastern wall university campus, and I was making my way through the campus to my office in the middle of campus, and I noticed these tombstones, and I asked the professor I was working with, what is that? And they said, well, this was the Jewish cemetery, and that's in fact the Jewish cemetery. It's now the campus of the Aristotelian University in the city, and the Jewish cemetery has been moved outside of the city, out to the east. Now, there wasn't any markers on campus to indicate that it was the Jewish cemetery. I had to ask, to find out. But in 2014, they did erect a monument at the behest of a number of the professors at the Aristotelian University. And the university rector at the time, Pericles Mitkas, condemned the destruction of the cemetery, but said that perhaps some consolation could be found in the fact that these are on sacred lands. A university was built that is the daily meeting place of many cultures, promoting freedom and tolerance of all religion, race, and politics, and dedicated to combating prejudice. So there is now a monument to the Jewish cemetery that was there. And I mentioned there's a Jewish cemetery out of the eastern part of the city, and now there is also a museum, a Jewish museum in the center of the city, and a monument as well. Actually, King Carlos II of Spain, King Juan Carlos, came during the dedication in 1998 for this Jewish museum. Okay, after World War II, immediately followed the Greek Civil War, and this was a very unfortunate event because it posed Greeks against Greeks, and it was a very difficult time. Many of the democratic government of Greece, the partisans that fought for them, were against the Germans. They fought against the Germans and Italians, and they wanted to have a communist government. And they were backed by Yugoslavia, Albania, and Bulgaria, and the Soviet Union. And they were fighting against the new Greek government, which was backed by the United Kingdom and the United States. The Greek government-backed forces by USA and United Kingdom won this battle, and finally brought peace to the country of Greece. But you can see how these conflagrations, these wars, these fires caused a great hardship on the population of Thessaloniki. And particularly during that period when the immigrants were coming in and the Jewish population suffered from the Great Fire, there was a lot of difficult times between the different groups. But Greece has come together finally as a result of this. And so in my next lecture, I'll talk about a brief history of the modern city of Thessaloniki. Thank you.